Hey everyone. All right. I would like to try to explain and help everyone with the confusion of all the different diets that are out there. It's a very simple yet very complicated process, and I'm trying to break it down to the best way that I can explain it to everyone, and so that you can choose what the best diet for you is. And I would like to preface this by saying the best diet that you can choose is the one that you can do and the one that you can stick to and the one that works the best in your life. Okay? Because consistency over a long period of time is in any diet what leads to the best results. So I highly suggest you pick something that works the best into your life and that you can sustain. So let me go over low carb diet. So the idea behind low carb diet is to cut out all your carbs, and you don't have to really track anything. You just don't eat anything with carbohydrates in it. Maybe a little bit of vegetable, but that's about it, okay? And why do people do that, and what makes that work? Well, basically what happens is your muscle is composed of two different sources of energy, glycogen and fat. So the body is built to use glycogen first before anything else for energy. That's what it'll pull from in order to get you moving in the morning, right? Well, if you deplete your body of that, then it has to go to fat from your muscle in order to get energy. Okay, and that's the premise, right? And so then they think, well, if it's pulling fat from my muscle, then my muscle's replenishing it with fat from my body. And maybe that works, but it's really tricky and it's not as simple as it sounds. So when people go on a low carb diet, and I think why they are so popular is because you'll hear people say, I lost 5 to 10 pounds the first week, it was amazing. And I lost 2 inches right away. Well, let me just break this down for you. Your muscle, in order to get glycogen into it, it needs to take in water as well, because glycogen is a large molecule and it needs water to break it down to get into the muscle, okay? So when you deplete your muscles of glycogen, you are depleting your muscles of water as well. So we can hold anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds of water on our bodies at any given time, right? And it's within our muscles, so then our muscles are facilitating energy. So it's not a bad thing. But if you're a larger person and, have a bigger belly or, whatever, you don't see necessarily your muscles because you don't have, because there's body fat over your muscles, you may see yourself shrink down. But you're not shrinking down in fat, you're shrinking down because your muscles are flattening out. They're not as full and big because you've depleted them, okay? So I just want you to understand that. You're not actually losing fat when the first initial 5 to 10 pounds come off, okay? So that, I hope that makes sense. So that's pretty much like what you're trying to do is deplete your muscles of glycogen and then only replace proteins and fats. But here's the thing. If you don't watch what you're taking in protein can then be converted to glycogen. And so you can take in so much protein that now you're using glycogen in your muscles and you're not actually pulling fat off of your body, and therefore your weight loss will stall, okay? And you can actually gain weight at that point as well because you're not watching everything else, right? Because it's still, at the end of the day, in my opinion, is calories, right? If you can still overeat in protein. Now, some people have a little bit of success in it because protein is more satiating than, say, carbohydrates. So, but therefore they've reduced their calories and then they're able to continue to burn fat, okay? But then again, that will only get you so far if you're not watching how much you're taking in, and your body can only process so much protein and so much fat. Anything else will get stored as fat into storage. So I hope that makes sense. Keto, let's talk about that because that goes right into keto, right? Why keto is better than low carb, okay? Because keto knows that protein can also be converted into glycogen. So keto is actually low carb, low protein, high fat. So the premise on this is the same exact thing, depleting your muscles of glycogen and water, hence the 5 to 10 pound weight loss right away, and then only replenishing it with fat. So then your body is pulling fat from its muscle for energy and then fat from your storage for replenishing, right? And that's great and that works, but yet you can still, if you eat an excess of fat, you will still plateau and you will still store fat. okay? Because your body can still only handle so much. It's not like you get this endless mouthfuls of fat all day long. You can still get fat eating keto. You can still, you will not see weight loss. And it eventually, if you're not keeping track of your actual caloric intake that you're taking in the form of fat, again, you will store fat if you're taking in too much, and you will halt your weight loss progress. So that rolls me into a macronutrient diet. And so a macronutrient diet decides, well, I don't want to take out anything. I want to be able to work with this. But a macronutrient diet tries to say, okay, I want to give my body just enough glycogen, just enough fat, and just enough protein so that it will work, and then I lose fat as I go. So it gives you enough protein to repair muscles and build lean muscle. It gives you enough carbohydrates to have energy and to go. And again, that also helps with muscle growth. And then just enough fat in order to satiate and the health benefits of eating fat. So, but it's still tracking all of these nutrients and still into a caloric take, because you can still track macros all day long. You can know how much protein, you can know how much fat, you can know how much carbs, but if you're eating too many of all of them, you're still going to gain fat. Okay. So it's tracking what you're eating and knowing your caloric intake. The other thing I just wanted to touch on, because somebody had asked this, is carb cycling. Carb cycling is, I actually like carb cycling. I follow the macronutrient diet because I want to eat. That works best for my life. I want to be able to have anything that I want and to fit into my diet. But carb cycling is kind of nice because if you do tend to love carbs and you tend to maybe overeat them from time to time, doing something like 2 days with a higher carb and 1 day of a lower carb, 2 days with a higher carb, 1 day of a lower carb, kind of keeps that carbohydrate and that glycogen level in your muscles just enough to where you're not storing excess carbohydrates, because they're obviously the yummiest to eat and we can easily overeat them. So carb cycling kind of helps you keep that in check a little bit. So, but that's it. I mean, this is what it all comes down to: tracking, knowing your caloric intake, and you're having to be accountable to it, okay? There is no shortcuts, guys. No shortcuts. I don't care what you choose. There's no magic pill. There's no magic new diet. It's all going to come down to, at the end of the day, watching what you eat and making sure you're in the right caloric range. I hope that helps everybody. And please post comments or questions if I didn't cover something that you were thinking about. Bye, guys. Have a great day.